G'day, I'm Kate Grarrock. How are you? Today I'm super excited because I am prepping for a 7-day hike, and I thought I'd just do a quick video to show you the things that I take when I go hiking. And pretty much exactly what I pack here is exactly what I'd take on an overnight hike. I want to throw out there, I'm absolutely not sponsored by anything, so all of this stuff I've bought with my own money, and I'm not being swayed in any way, shape or form by gear companies. So I don't want you to buy this particular gear, I just thought I'd show you the things that I throw in my pack, and maybe that could help you get some ideas or work out how to drop a bit of weight on your pack. I'll also go through a little bit about my food and what I'm taking on this trip, because I thought that could be kind of interesting. For 7 days it starts to get pretty heavy, but I dehydrate a lot of food myself. The other thing I've got is behind me is sort of just a little kit of gear of extra stuff that I'll have to take because I'm going for 7 days. Righto, so here I've got the clothes that I'll be wearing. So obviously this is stuff that doesn't go in my pack. I love to wear, a good hat, and I used to have those floppy hats, but I've realized in the rain, these are so good because they tend to keep, the drips of rain off. And so you sort of sit in this little shelter shed and you feel nice and protected in there. And that just makes me pretty darn happy when I'm hiking to have that. It's also obviously great for sun protection. Coming down from there, I like to take a woolen buff. This can be used in so many ways, just to keep the sun off your neck, or if it's super cold, you can bring it up over your face and just have your little eyes poking out, and keeps you nice and warm in these winter conditions. In summer, I still take something like that, probably not my woolen one, but I'll take like a bit more of a lightweight one that just keeps the sun off. It's also a really cool multi-purpose item, so you can use it for a whole range of things, from like filtering water, the real big chunks out of the water, a whole range of things, sort of cleaning stuff if you're getting a bit desperate. Then I like to have a nice sort of hiking shirt, a nice proper, I guess, lightweight one that will dry super quick. When I was first getting into hiking, I would use my sports shirts, so things like soccer shirts and things like that, to keep, they're sort of all made of that quick dry material. But once again, just avoiding cotton, because cotton, once it gets wet, it is so cold and so heavy, and it can be quite dangerous. Then, because it's winter, I'll probably be sporting a little, this is just a little wool t-shirt that I'll be wearing. This is no fancy brand, it's just like the Aldi brand, so it's sort of nice and cheap. I think like 20, probably $30 or something like that. I'll probably go with my wool jumper this trip because I'm expecting it to be quite cold. This is a nice little wool jumper that I picked up from Vinnie's, so for like $5-10. So it's a cracker, and you don't worry if you sort of get holes in it or things like that. It's just really great little cheap woolen jumper. Then, I like to have a belt, which is quite comfortable. On my, like, sort of in my pockets, I'll have a nice little Swiss Army knife. It's got all the bits and bobs. It's got scissors, it's got a knife. It's quite a handy piece of kit. And I love a little bit lighter, so as soon as I get into camp, boom, I can crank out a little fire or something like that. Then some nice sort of hiking pants. I really like, hiking pants are ridiculous. Like, for me, I get so annoyed. They like more expensive than like my dress pants I'd wear for work. So just be a bit careful. I always buy them on special. So I just sort of watch some of those hiking websites and get them when they're on special, because you can spend a ridiculous amount on a pair of pants. It is good to have them that quick drying material, because once again, if you're hiking in cotton or jeans or something that's sort of not really built for the purpose, once they get wet, they get so heavy that you'll get chafing and things like that. So the quick dry material is good. Once again, I used to hike in soccer shorts and things like that. So with maybe tights or something underneath. Underwear is obviously important. Gaiters, I love wearing my gaiters. It keeps all the bits and bobs from going into your sock and into your shoe and being really annoying. It also makes me feel a little bit more protected against snakes and creepy crawlies and things like that. So I just really like wearing them. I don't like wearing them if I'm wearing shorts, so then I'll wear, once again, my long socks. So but now with sort of sun protection, I tend to always wear long pants and a long shirt. Just keeps you protected, keeps you nice and safe. Then I've got my Ultra shoes. I love these because I've got duck feet, so nice and wide. And so yeah, they're trail runners, they're super lightweight. They will be getting water in them. There's a heap of water on the ground at the moment. So I'm making sure I've got my nice woolly socks that I'll be wearing in there, and that should keep my feet pretty dry. All right, so let's go have a look what else is in my pack. Because it's winter this trip, I've got some nice big thick thermals that I'll be taking with me. So I've got like a top and a bottom. I don't hike in these. I only use them for when I get into camp. It's sort of like my clean pajamas, I guess, because another way that I save weight is I just wear the same skanky clothes all the time. So during the day, I whack on the old clothes, try to dry them at night, even wash them up a little bit if you buy a nice little creek and things like that. But I'll throw the same hiking clothes on every day. And so then I'll have just like this nice clean little kit for when I get into camp that I'll, try and keep as clean as possible. With that obviously comes, clean underwear, beautiful warm socks, not like the ones that you'll be hiking in that might get wet. I like a little balaclava. This is just a nice little woolen one. Everything's sort of wool. And once again, those Aldi sales and things like that can be really good for getting wool, because I know this stuff can be super expensive. Even wool underwear can be amazing. At the moment, I've just got cotton underwear because, I don't know, it just seems like it's a bit expensive to get wool underwear sometimes. So just once again, watching the specials and seeing when they come back out. These guys I love. These are like little woolen mittens, or what, fingerless sort of gloves. They're pretty nice. So I'll keep them in the top of my pack so I can hike with them if it gets a bit miserable. So then I've got like a nice puff jacket, and depending on the conditions, so if I know that we're going to be stopping along the way for like a leisurely lunch or something like that, I might keep this guy out and up high in my pack so that I can easily get to it. On this trip, I know I'm sort of going to be just like going out, getting to camp, and then putting on the warm. So I'm going to actually pack this guy away in with my, beautiful warm sleeping gear. That's the other thing to think about when you're packing, is like when are you going to need that gear, and how often do you need to access it? Where's it going to go in the pack? So your rain jacket, I'm going to obviously keep that up nice and high in the pack. I pretty much ditch all the bags for all the gear. I just have this one sort of squash dry bag that I put inside my main pack. Everything else, ditch the tent thing, ditch the, the sleeping pad cover. It probably only saves a minuscule amount of weight, but it also, for me, saves a heap of time in terms of pack up and pull down. So yeah, obviously I've got a sleeping mat. This is one that's sort of a bit warmer because it's winter, so I'll be packing that guy. I've got a pillow because I'm, I don't know. I know you can like sort of stuff your, like your stuff sack or something with your puff jacket, but I don't know, just for the pleasure I get out of this is like 80 grams or something. Absolutely worth it for me. They're all the things that I will pack into this dry bag. Oh, with my sleeping bag. So at the back there, that big red thing, that's my sleeping bag. It's a quilt. I'm loving the quilt camping lately. It's from Enlighten Equipment, but there are some local Australian manufacturers, so check out their brands too, because it's always good to shop local. The one thing when you're buying down products is make sure it's responsibly or ethically sourced down, because there's some pretty nasty things that go on in the industry with double plucking and horrible things like that. So basically I get all my sort of warm, sleepy gear that I want to keep nice and safe, and I stuff it all in this pack. So I'll do that now. The trick I find with these bags is don't just use the cords to cinch down on them. Do it to there, and then I actually use my weight to push down. I wonder if you can see that. I use my weight to push down and pull, and do it all a little bit at the same time, slowly around. Weight, push, weight, push. Hello, Lupo. So that's everything, warm and dry that I need. You can't come here. So that's everything I need in terms of sleeping gear, sleeping bag, and all my nice warm gear. And I'm gonna pack that right at the bottom of my pack because I won't need it all day. I like to use little gas stoves. I'll probably be having a fire and stuff, but you know, I just like to have the speed and agility of this guy. I've got this pretty cheap little gas cooker extension. I think it was from MacPack or somewhere. That just screws on, and then you can cook on that. It's nice and easy, nice and lightweight. One thing I did learn the hard way is when I was doing the Great South Coast Walk, all the sand, you've got to watch out for sand getting in these little guys, because yeah, it really wreaks havoc with all the systems. So I have, you know, a lighter, I have this, I have a nice little titanium spoon fork thing. I've got my little bowl, which I use for everything basically, you know, my coffee mug, my food bowl, things like that. And then I have a nice little titanium bowl with a lid. This is, I can't remember, a couple of litres. I'll take maybe a slightly bigger one if I'm cooking for other people. But for me, this is great. And, you know, often I'll actually just eat my meals straight out of here. So that all packs up pretty nicely together. The other thing I like to do is chuck my head torch in there. So I've got a nice little head torch. It's only got 2 AAA batteries. So that's, you know, a little weight saving method. So in the bowl goes my Bic lighter, my cooking top. The Bic lighter's got a bit of electrical tape wrapped around it, or sort of 100-mile-an-hour tape, but that's just good for fixing things like holes in packs and stuff. I tend to chuck my head torch in there just because it's a nice little space for it. I whack my bowl on. This is cool. This one, it comes with handles, so that's great. You can use these on the fire as well. And then I'll whack that guy in, and the lid sort of sits under it, and this guy just kind of floats around in the pack somewhere. So that's my cooking system. I'm a huge fan of a pack that's just a single, I guess, barrel and the top opening with a small zip at the top. And the reason for that is because I find it so much easier to waterproof a bag that's just like that. I'll throw a big plastic bag in there, tie that off, and I know everything in there is nice and waterproof. I'm going to jump in now to the things that I'll put in the little top pocket. So I kind of carry 2 first aid kits. It sounds a bit weird, but basically I have a first aid kit in the top pocket that is things that I might need super quickly. And then the other first aid kit is inside the main part of the bag. It's still up quite high in the bag, but it's just a little bit harder to get to and takes a bit more time. So in that top pouch, what I have is a snake bandage. I have my sunscreen and my sort of mozzie stuff. I have my Ventolin inhaler. I have Band-Aids because, you know, they're really good just to, you know, stop a blister from forming if you're getting them. I have a few little drugs like Claritin, my allergies, and Nurofen just to sort of stop any niggles. I have this cool tape that I got when I broke my finger once. It's like this sort of, it's this spongy tape, but I find it's really good for, say, wrapping toes and things like that to stop blisters. I've got a bit of this cool tape. This white stuff is so good. It's sort of under tape for, I think, strapping tape if you're allergic to it, which I am. But I find it really good too for strapping, like wrapping toes to stop blisters and things like that. It's quite sticky and it's not very thick, so it won't make your toes really fat and start to rub against each other as well. I've got a little corn pad. These are cool. I've used these before on really bad blisters. So you sort of stick the yucky part of the blister through there. I find them really helpful. And then, you know, great little friend, a little needle, sterile needle for jabbing any needle blisters or things like that, or scratching out little splinters. Also in the top of my bag, a little trowel. So this is called the Juice. This guy's pretty cool. It's an ultralight digger. You got to be a bit careful with them. I've heard reviews if you push the wrong way, you can bend them. But yeah, it's pretty nice and lightweight. Saves a bit of weight. The other thing, you know, obviously toilet paper, a bit of moist towelettes, obviously taking those things out with you, so putting them in your rubbish bag. Sometimes I'll throw maybe a bit of food and muesli bar in there. Oh, compass, yeah, a compass, and I've got a map. I'll show you that in a minute. Next up is my tent. So I've got a nice little, it's basically weighs just over 1 kilo, a little tent, the fly, and you know, it really depends where you pack these in your pack. If you know it's going to rain cats and dogs, it's probably going to be raining when you're setting up. You want to probably have them pretty high up in your pack because you don't want to be pulling out everything, your electronics. You want to grab your tent, whack it up, and then throw everything in there and then unpack. So, you know, your tent, I don't ever take a, what do you call it? Like a protective mat underneath. I've done heaps of trails with this guy. I've done Larapinta. I've probably hiked over 3,000 Ks with this guy. It's got carbon fiber poles, so they're really good and flexy and things like that. I only pack as many stakes as I need to. I got these little lightweight guys. But yeah, have a look around. Once again, looking at specials online. So I've just got the basics in here. I've got a bamboo toothbrush, and no, I didn't cut the handle off. They're naturally lightweight, the bamboo, good for the environment, not plastic. So I really love having that. I just get these little travel toothpastes, or my dentist has them for free actually. I like to have just a little emery board for, you know, sanding off any nails that have gone a bit weird. I like to have these little flossers. This is just like a little thing I got in a hotel. It's just a bit of moisturizer. And then I also like to take earplugs. I don't usually use them that often, but you never know if it's a really windy night or there's a possum going nuts. Sometimes it's useful. I know when we did the hike on Fraser Island, there was these people partying in one of the campsites, and I just was praying that I'd packed a pair of earplugs. The other thing they're super useful for, I've sort of cut them up and used them as little blister pads as well. So that's my little toiletries bag. It's pretty good, super lightweight. The other thing I'm sort of getting into and trialing, I'm trying to sort of steer away a bit from, you know, like your moist towelettes and those sorts of things. So this is just a chucks in a bag with a few drops of tea tree. So just sort of use that as a little bit of a freshen up at the end of the day. The other thing I'll have is a little, I guess, hi-fi pack. So yeah, battery packs are super important for what I'm doing. And yeah, I've got the Big Mother battery pack that I'll be taking on this trip too. And then just a charging cable and earphones for listening. I guess it's my first aid and survival pack. So what I do, once again, in a big Ziploc bag, labelled it. I have a few things like repairs. I always think cable ties could be useful. You know, maybe if you break a strap on your backpack, you might be able to, you know, make a hole and sort of zip tie them together and try and, you know, strap it together. Or, you know, someone breaks an arm, you could splint it and then use this, obviously not too tight, but, you know, to sort of help splint the arm and hold perhaps those sticks or things together. Just a pretty easy multi-tool, multi-use item and weighs nothing. So PLB, never leave home without it. Even on day hikes with heaps of people, on my own, this thing comes with me everywhere. The other thing I have, and you know, it's a bit bushcrafty, but I have like a little, it's a mirror, and so you can, I've tried, it's pretty easy actually. When the sun's full glaze, what you do is you can make a little spot on the ground on, say, toilet paper or something like that, and you can light a fire with that. So it's just a kind of a handy thing to have, and once again, it weighs nothing, so it's not too bad. In my first aid kit, I'll go into a bit more detail. I'll put a link in the comments about what I actually take. So I've got all this stuff listed elsewhere, but you know, just to go through what I've got, sort of first aid. But basically, anywhere you hike in Australia is not super remote. Basically, my idea is to have drugs in here that could patch me up for two days or something, 2 or 3 days, and get me out safely. And so things like vomiting and diarrhea are like really dangerous on the trail. So I've got, you know, things to stop diarrhea, things to stop vomiting, and then just some mad painkillers and, you know, cold and flu and stuff like that. So it's kind of just to patch me up, to get me out. So a broken limb or something, Panadeine for, boom, you know, just to sort of chill it out for a bit. But that's the main things. Lots of ibuprofen, and then for me, you know, allergy medication too. This is my survival bag. Like, I don't know if I'd ever use it, but it's good to have. You know, I've got things like one of those blankets, space blankets to keep you warm. There's another lighter in there, so that's 2, actually 3, because I carry one on me. I've got things like dental floss, now not a survival situation, but kind of like super lightweight rope pretty much. I've got a whistle. I've got things like fishing, but you know, if I'm out there fishing, there's something that's gone seriously wrong. Little lures. I've got tampons, and that's not for an emergency either. That's because that is mad tinder. You pull those apart, they're cotton, boom, it'll take a spark like nothing else. I've got a couple of sewing needles to help, stitch things back together. And I've got one of those mini little chain saws in there that who knows how good it is. But anyway, I've got that with me. It doesn't weigh much, so it's something that I take. In the rest of my first aid kit, I have another snake bandage. So this one's packed away a bit more. I've got things like an eye patch, heaps of band-aids, sort of triangle bandages, a couple of those. Things like saline irrigation to clean out, say, sores or eyes, heaps of betadine, little pencil for taking notes, and some paper. Yeah, just those sort of main things. Oh, and I've got a bit of it's like an antiseptic ointment too that you can put in your eye. But yeah, they're the main ones. Oh, and then heaps of what are those, alcohol swabs and stuff like that. So yeah, that all gets packed in together. I've got a website and I've got all the weights and things like that in there, and I've got like pretty detailed information about what's in each of these sort of bags. And then last thing is water and backpack. So yeah, I really like to use a hydration bladder. I've been tinkering with, water bottles because they're good and you know exactly how much you've got left. But I sort of flip-flopped. I went from water bladders onto water bottles, and now I've gone back to water bladders because I don't know, they're just so easy and useful. This is just a platypus I got. I didn't like the nozzle they put, so I think this is an Osprey nozzle, but basically any water bladder is fine. Just be aware that there's a heck of a lot of weight in some of these water bladders, and that's why I went for a pretty low profile one. Some of them are all rigid and do all these other things, but there's a heck of a lot of weight in them. So I went with just this sort of bag. I might actually trim down this hose, not actually to save weight, because I pack it very high in my pack. Generally, people pack them in their pack up like that, and so you need the long hose to come up and so you can drink out of it. The way I like to pack it, I put it up high, and there are issues with packing heavy things up high. You're trying to pack the really heavy stuff closer to your body because then you don't get that full crazy momentum going on. Then what I've done is I've paired it with my Platypus Gravity Works. I've got the Gravity Works dirty bag, and so I'll collect water. I'll collect water in this, and this is clearly marked dirty, and then through a series of pipes, it will run through my Sawyer squeeze. So I had a platypus bladder, but I basically filter, but I basically just used the life out of that, and I think it's time to move on to a new filter. This was a bit cheaper, so I got this. But basically all you do is the water comes from this dirty bag, it goes into this through the pipe, and then it comes out and I plug it straight into this, and it goes into my platypus to drink out of. You've got to be a little bit careful because this is 3 litres and this is 4, and so you don't want to put too much water into that. But then as a backup, I also take the squeeze bags for the Sawyer, and I take a couple of those for a couple of reasons. This is a dirty one and this is a clean one. It's just good for carrying extra water if I'm camping up high away from water sources, or if something goes wrong with this bag. I've had a little rat one night chew one of these water bags, so it's just sort of a redundancy thing. I also carry water treatment tablets in my survival kit. So another thing I love to do when I'm getting ready for an overnight hike is pack a car bag. And so, hopefully you're going hiking in beautiful conditions, but sometimes, it's a long, wet, cold hike out. Sometimes, you're running a bit low on water when you get to the car, and you don't want to have to do that drive all the way to the nearest town to get resupplies. So what I do is I always pack a car bag, and in that I'll have, like the most beautiful warm socks I can find, my little booties, things like that, a nice dry shirt, dry pants, and a dry jumper, and finally a nice big 2-litre thing of water. So that'll sit in my car, and I know as soon as I get back to the car I'm gonna have warm clothes and some water, and that's just always nice to look forward to. You could even throw in there a little snack or something delicious to have, like, I don't know, a bit of a treat. So the other things that I've got here are things that are specific to this trip. So there's going to be a few rocky sort of ups and downs. And so I'm just taking this 10-meter length of rope. I think it's Cedar Summit or something, pretty light cordage, so that, because I'm on my own, what I'll do is basically lower down my pack and then climb down with it. So that's going to be helpful for that. I'm taking these really sexy safety glasses because it can get really overgrown, even though the fires have come through, and I just want a bit of that sort of protection. I've had a stick poke me in the eye before and it was not nice. So I'm just going to have them with me just in case the scrub gets a bit thick, even though it has burnt. This is my big daddy charger. It's 20,000 milliamps or whatever they call them, and so this will charge my phone at least 5 times, so that's really good. Another trick of this is to make sure you don't let it get too cold at night, because that can suck a bit of charge. Yeah, because I'm going for so long, I'm going to take a few more moist towelettes and toilet paper tissues. I'm actually packing a second sort of plastic liner for my pack, just because I'm going for so long, and these ones I take are pretty lightweight. The other thing I do is I use GPS on my phone. This is an old phone that I have, like an iPhone 4 or something, that I've loaded the GPS maps onto, that I'll be using, I'll be using my main camera, my main phone, sorry. But I want this one just in case something happens to my main phone, like I lose it or it dies, it gets waterlogged. This one's just nice as a safety backup to help me navigate if I need it. Along with that, I've also obviously got the maps of the area that I'm going to. So now I'm going to pack it all up. And as I said, I use a pack liner. This is just sort of a, I don't know, not even sure, I've maybe got it from Woolies or something like that. But basically what I'll do is I'll grab my pack and throw that in and pack everything into it. So this is where you should get a little bit thoughtful about how, like, when you're going to need the items and, you know, how accessible they are. One thing I always stuff up is I've got to put in my tent poles first. So I've actually put them behind there. So I pack my poles in there. Then I'm not going to need my cooking gear until I'm well set up. Also, I tend to, you know, it is a little bit annoying, but I will put my tent in next, I think, because it just sort of packs in nicely. Yeah, I have to pull everything out. I'm 99% sure that my first night will be in a cave, so I don't have to worry about having it available to me. So in goes the fly, in goes, I'll take that thing off, in goes the actual tent, and then with the gaps, you know, it's all about sort of filling the gaps, a bit like Tetris. I'll put my cook system in, squeeze it in the side there, beautiful. What else? Oh yep, so my lid goes in. Now, so then I'll put in my first aid kit. So it's still nice and high, but you know, my food and things like that will go on top. Water treatment I think will fit in nicely. And then, as I was talking about, I like to put a few things in this little top pouch. So that will be things like, what do we got? My little gloves to keep my hands warm, my sort of toilet kit. Some people think it's weird not to keep this sort of in a plastic bag, but I don't let this touch anything gross, just dirt. So I'm more than happy with it just sitting in the pack like that. My everyday first aid kit and my compass, and I'll put my maps in there. Depending on how wet it's going to be, I'll maybe wrap them in a plastic bag to keep them nice and safe. Last little items we have my toiletries, so that's my little toothbrush and things like that. This little washcloth that I've got, pegs. Then what I do is I'll get this, get a hair tie and tie it off. And that'll keep all my stuff nice and dry I can feel happy and safe no matter how much rain we get. Then what I'll throw in on top of that is obviously my food. So 7 days, wish me luck, in its own sort of little, Woolies bag, plastic bag. On top of that, I'll have my rain jacket, nice and accessible. And then on top of that, I put my water bladder, which, is a bit controversial. Most people will tuck them down the back of their pack like that, but I really like to have it up easy, and so I can, check how much I've got there and things like that. It just seems to work with the system that I use. I'll go through some of my food in a minute and just show you what I'm going to be taking on this 7-day hike.